Hey, what's up YouTube? Houston here. Hey, if you have a 700 credit score, all right, and you went to your bank and your bank still turned you down for a business credit card, and you're like, okay, so what's the deal? Most of the time, your banks don't know. Okay, a lot of times your banker don't know. They don't understand the underwriting process. Many of your bankers tell you the truth. Many of your bankers, they have bad credit themselves. That's right. They may have bad credit themselves. Now, here's the thing that I would definitely tell you in terms of why you may have been turned down for that business credit card. With the community banks and the credit unions, all right, you have to understand, with community banks and credit unions, just like regular banks, they have a DTI, a debt to income ratio, that may have got you denied. Or you may have too many inquiries, or you may have too many new open accounts. All right? So those are some of the things that could get you denied, even though you have a 700 credit score. So what do you do for your business? What are your alternatives, right? So here's the deal. A lot of companies are starting to pay attention to this. And you know where they said one man's trash is another man's treasure? Okay, so yeah, you have a 700 credit score, but you have your credit cards may be maxed out. You may have too many inquiries and stuff. So there are other options. So for many of you, like, well, what about Dun & Bradstreet? What about my Paydex score? I got an 80 Paydex score and I can't give. It doesn't matter if you have a 80 Paydex score or a 100 Paydex score. That does not guarantee you funding. Okay, this is something that I continue to tell people over and over and over. 90% of the banks, they're not tripping off whether you have a Dun & Bradstreet file. They're not looking at how many net 30s you have. They're not tripping off of that. They're actually tripping off of, does the business have revenue? Now, this is with alternative lenders and stuff like that, like where the banks don't want to touch you. All right. So some of the cards that I can think about, that I'm going to tell you about, that I think would probably be helpful, so that way you don't get caught up in what the banks think and you can just move on. So one person don't want to help you. All right, move on. Cool. All right. So one of the cards that I made a video and I was talking to you about is Capital on Tap, right? So with Capital on Tap, they want you to have at least 30,000 annual revenue. All right. Now, where some people, like with banks, they'll go to the bank and the bank will tell them, oh, you have to be in business 2 years. That's not true. That's not true. That's a lie. And I'm going to tell you how I know it's a lie. With credit cards, with new with a new business set up, just with a new business set up, you can get business credit cards. What happens is with loans, when you're going after a business loan, that's the reason I tell you guys, stay away from business loans. It's too much red tape for banks, all right? It costs them too much money to process a loan. You want to start out with a business credit card, all right? Those are the easiest for them to issue out, okay? Now, that being said, like I said, if the banks don't want to work with you, even if you have a 700 credit score, then look at Capital on Tap. Capital on Tap, $30,000 annually. What's that? Now, no, I shouldn't be doing math. It's what, about $2,500, $2,700 a month or something like that? You know, excuse me for my bad math, but just saying that you have these alternatives that ain't tripping off your personal credit. They're not tripping off if you have a commercial address. And that's another fallacy a lot of people talking about. Oh, you got to have a commercial address to get business funding. No, you do not. Look, because of this pandemic thing, the spectrum has changed. The game has changed. It even changed before that. A lot of people had started working from home and stuff like that, running their businesses out of their home and stuff like that. You know, if you want a commercial address, then do it. But I would tell you this about a virtual office. And a lot of major banks, they've started doing this. If you have a virtual office, and this is very important, and we're going to talk about these other business credit cards, but this is very important, so you need to understand this. If you have a virtual office, because that address may have been recycled multiple times through that lending institution, all right, it could have been somebody, another company on the other side of the country or whatever, but because you're using that virtual office address, the dangers of it, financial institutions, they look at that and they may turn you down for a business account. Now, here's something else. On your business credit file, say that somebody had that virtual office address, okay? And your company is totally different from it. You just have that address. You just reactivated that address. Well, with credit card companies, the other lenders and stuff, when they're doing their data mining, okay, and this address comes up and it comes up active in Secretary of State, they can mess around and put somebody else's debt on your business credit file. So now you have to go back and fight and try to, it's your responsibility to prove that, hey, I never had this debt, right? So that's the reason I tell people, if you want a virtual office, then hey, that's you, but you just have to understand what could actually happen. All right, that's the only transparency that a lot of people, they say, oh, you need a virtual office, but they're not explaining to you the possibilities of somebody else having that office address prior to you that may have bad debts, and those bad debts can end up on your credit file, even though you have a different company name, but because of that address, all right, from data mining. So that's the reason I tell people you have to be careful. Now, another card that I would tell you about, and most of these cards I'm telling you about, of course, is, you know, you've seen them before, Divvy. You know, you see my videos and I talk about Divvy, and I continue to tell people, if Divvy doesn't give you a line of credit off the bat, then what do? You actually accept their business credit program, all right? They're still going to report to the Small Business Financial Exchange, and it's still picked up by Dun & Bradstreet. So, hey, yeah, you're doing a secured account, but at least you still have activity reporting to your business credit profile, all right? Now, here's something that most people, that they have the challenges of. I was talking about, in the beginning of the video, I was talking about the community banks and credit unions turning you down and stuff like that. Well, another thing about the community banks and credit unions, most people are like, oh, I got this business with this credit union up the street or this community bank or whatever. Because they don't report your business activity, even with Navy Federal, not reporting your business activity is not helping your business credit file. That's the reason I tell you that you should have multiple banks. The reason you want to have multiple banks, again, is because, or at least make sure you have one of the gatekeepers. One of the gatekeepers is the major banks like American Express, Capital One, Citibank, Chase Bank, Citibank, Chase Bank, and Capital One. They report to more of the major credit bureaus, okay, like Experian, Equifax, Small Business Financial Exchange, and they share with Dun & Bradstreet, okay? The other ones like American Express, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, PNC Bank, they may report to like Small Business Financial Exchange, all right? But not the other ones. So that's the reason I tell you, like, when you open up these bank accounts, make sure you're doing weekly deposits, because it helps with the business bank rating. Your business bank rating is more important than a DUNS number. Your email, your corporate email, is more important than a DUNS number. Okay, so this is things that you really have to think about when you're trying to build a business credit, especially for those of you that are new to the business credit world and you're trying to figure it out, how many net 30s I have to have and stuff like that. A lot of financial institutions, they're not tripping off of net 30s, all right? So it ain't about the net 30s, it's about the relationship and making sure that you have one of the major banks and stuff like that. I know some people may say, well, what about Blue Vine as a bank? Blue Vine as a bank, I know their accounts report to Dun and Bradstreet, but not your banking activity, okay? So that's the reason that I'm not too keen on Blue Vine, all right? So I hope that answers some of you guys' questions or whatever. Some other cards to go after is like Corpay. Corpay, all you need is a 600 credit score. 600 credit score. They hard pull Experian, FICO 8, okay? And so they report to Experian, Dun and Bradstreet, and I think they report to Equifax. I know it's 3 of them that they report to. All right, but that activity, and again, this is the reason why I tell people, don't just focus on the major bank. Look at the alternative lenders in terms of when you're trying to get funding and stuff, because they may have more flexibility where they're not tripping off of the credit score, or they're not tripping off because you have too many new open accounts or something like that, or too many inquiries. All right, so that's why I continue to tell you this. You have revenue, EIN only type of card, all right? But you have to be making at least $10,000 a month, all right? Your business has to be active for at least 6 months, but people have had success with them. They have been flexible with people, has nothing to do with the personal credit. And I think that's why a lot of us as newbies coming in the industry, learning about business credit and stuff like that, we just don't know. We're trying to figure it out. You know, how many net 30s we have to have, how high of a Paydex score and stuff like that. But that doesn't matter. Dun & Street doesn't matter. Paydex score doesn't matter, okay? It's all about the activity, business activity. Credit score doesn't matter, all right? That's what you want. Something that doesn't trip off of the credit score, the DUNS number, the Paydex score. That's the type of accounts that you want to actually be going for, especially as a newbie, okay? Then you have Coast Visa, which is a fleet card or whatever, but it's EIN only, okay? So again, not tripping off of the business. Excuse me, not tripping off of the personal credit. So don't get caught up because your major banks or even your community bank or credit union turned you down. Move on. There's other alternatives. If you have any questions about building your business credit file, getting business credit funding, personal credit funding, click the link in the description. Schedule a one-on-one consultation. I hope that this video helps some of you guys that are starting out, that may have some confusion. You may have some negative items on your credit report that you need to be explained about the strategy to get them off or whatever. But click the link in the description and schedule a one-on-one consultation. Thank you.